Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Overwatch Star Esports All-Star Brawl, a double elimination tournament dedicated to the Overwatch Tier 3 community. Today, we have Citizens taking on 7Kings in match number 5 of the main bracket. I'm CJ, and today I am joined by...
Poor Zach. Hi, what's up, man?
Not too much. I'm excited to get into this matchup. How about you, man?
I'm pretty excited. Citizens, a team we've seen before, but recently more of a revamped roster. Meanwhile, 7Kings, a team that we are completely new to. So this match in entirety, I think, is just going to be a whole lot of surprises.
Yeah, 7Kings, according to our notes for the day, have only formed their roster within the last 2 weeks, which isn't a huge amount of time. It's not a lot of time to scrim and build up synergy among your team. So that could be a difference maker in this matchup today.
Yeah, and I think when you do pick up players like this that you're new and you're all just starting to more get used to each other and understand each other's play styles and kind of merge them all together, I think that we might be seeing a lot of solo play. So the players today are really going to have to shine on their own with mechanical skills because they may not have that particular set of team building that you said they probably haven't gone through as much of yet. So I think that'll be really fun to see.
Exactly. We're going to see whether or not they have that coordination down because in the current metagame, being able to hit your combos is a big deal. It's one of those things that can separate, a roster of individually talented players from a genuinely good team. So we'll see how they look against Citizens. Does have some new players in there, some people that we haven't seen from them in the past, or at least not, the roster we're used to seeing previously. So we'll see whether or not there's going to be maybe a missed step or two from them as well.
Yeah, and I mean, since like we kind of said, it's kind of like two whole new teams coming into it in a sense because of that. So when we do go into this game, I have a feeling that they may not stray away too far from the meta because they aren't completely used to each other, so they haven't been able to build some maybe crazy kind of cheesy compositions. So we're going to see the double barrier, Doomfist, Reaper, maybe you throw in a Symmetra here or there, just depending on what you want to do, especially here on Lijiang Tower. This is something that
Yeah, as you said, Lijiang Tower, our first map, and on those controls, that's kind of the map where you come out and brawl, where it's just individual play, landing some good combos. You don't necessarily see quite as many pocket strats outside of the Mei or Symmetra. It's just good, solid fundamentals, just going in there, seeing who can outfrag the other until we get the win.
Yeah, and I mean the great thing about Lijiang Tower, I think, is that like you have the opportunity to run so many different compositions. Like on night market, you may not see too much of a variation because they're just going to point. But I mean, you do have that opportunity to run that Symmetra and TP yourself up into the high ground, set yourself up. Then when the other team comes in, they're fighting a probably losing battle because you already have your turret set up. You guys already stationed yourself over onto the point. You got that Arisha shield set up. You already got it on cooldown. So now you definitely have the upper hand when it comes to that. And then the other maps, really, it's a control center, I think, is the one where you're pretty much guaranteed to see that regular double barrier. Maybe you see a Mei come in, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see much happening with the control center. And then, of course, we go over to Gardens, where I think you could play a Pharah if you really wanted to. It's pretty open, so if you wanted to try to run that route, you could, which could help if the enemy doesn't have like a good hit.
And we've seen people break out the Wrecking Ball for Garden as well. Like, there's definitely some compositional flexibility, even if not everyone avails themselves of it, even if it's not necessarily, the most ideal thing. But sometimes if you've got players who are good with a certain, hero over another, sometimes that's nice to throw into the mix. See if you can throw off the enemy team by giving them something that they don't expect.
Yeah,
Go right ahead.
No, you.
Okay, very well. I was going to say one thing I want to call some attention to is that throughout the game in the Twitch panels, we're going to have our live vote for the game MVP from either team. So be sure over the course of the game to go in and cast your vote. See who is the hero of today's matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of times you really focus on those DPS because they're always the ones showing up in the kill feed. But just the other day in one of my matches that I was casting, we saw a lot of really good support play too. So it just kind of goes to show that even though the DPS may be in the limelight, there's other people right behind them that are giving them all that, all the boosts and attention that you need to give to them to make sure that they're able to pull off these crazy eliminations.
Yeah, and another hero that you got to draw some attention to, the Sigma. Sigma is hugely important in being able to shut down your enemy's DPS and, create the space for your own to pop off. a lot of times the team that has a better Sigma has a decisive advantage in the game. So just look at the Overwatch League Grand Finals for that. Choi Hyobin going absolutely insane on that Sigma and was one of the big difference makers.
Yeah, he really did deserve that MVP. And when it kind of
Absolutely.
comes down to that Sigma play, I think a lot of that has to do with less of the kinetic grasp. I think that's one of his less kind of important abilities, but your shield management and your accretion, I think, are
Accretion
two of
is
the
so
biggest,
big.
especially that accretion, because if you're able to time that up with like an enemy Doomfist coming in, then you're pretty much just gonna have a free kill there because they're gonna be stuck on the ground for a second and everybody's gonna be targeting them. As soon as they're
Mhm.
out of the fight, it's gonna be a hard one to try to take back as long as you're able to keep your own Doomfist up and just continue to get those kills.
And if you've got that Reaper teleporting into the back line and you see him and you've got that accretion ready, that can be a quick kill as well. Maybe not as decisive as the Doomfist, because Doomfist really, in the current metagame, is arguably the biggest playmaker. But it's still an important one that gives you a 5v6 advantage.
hmm Like it's just because he can just put so much damage through all these shields. That's why people pick him as one of their main DPS. He gets in close. You don't have to worry about the shields. Just punch right through him. Really, the only two abilities that are affected by shields by him are his primary fire, which arguably you don't really use unless you're close enough to where the shield isn't in your face to begin with, or
Yeah,
your
once you've
meteor
already
strike.
juggled them.
Yeah, or your meteor strike, where maybe a Sigma is able to pay attention to that and be able to put a shield there. And like we were said with shield management, that's also something a Sigma can be looking for when they hear that meteor strike come out. Is okay, well, where are my supports at? How can I help and protect them?
Exactly. It's a great tool to sort of deny at least some of the effectiveness off of that ultimate. We have a slight delay ahead of the game. We're just waiting for both of our teams to ready up. Once again, we're going to be going into Lijiang Tower as soon as the game starts. Do you have a favorite in here in terms of who you think might pull this out?
It's kind of hard to have a favorite. If we just go into it, even if Citizens had the same roster, I wouldn't really think I'd have a favorite. I mean, they've always been a good team, always doing well in tournaments. But 7 Kings being a new team to this tournament, not knowing what to expect from them, I think just leaves everybody out in the blind when it comes to who they think is going to win this match,
Mhm.
unless you've been able to kind of watch all these players go at it in scrims or something like that. So I think this match is going to be, no surprise as to who will win eventually, I'm sure. But right now, I don't really have any.
Yeah, well, and hey, on Lijiang Tower, on those control maps, a lot of it does come down to brawling. So maybe if 7 Kings is kind of lagging behind Citizens in that synergy aspect, it might not be the biggest disadvantage on this map that it could be on other ones.
Yeah, and I mean, the King of the Hill maps kind of feel like the vanilla version of Overwatch. We've said this before, but it just kind of makes a lot of sense. It's really just attack and defend. And then as soon as you get the point, now it's you defending, and you kind of just get a feel for the teams, and you kind of get a feel for who is more mechanically better, possibly.
We'll
But of
take that
course,
aggressive tempo.
yeah, take that aggressive tempo and how they may apply certain things from their attack and defense in just one control map that can transfer over to a 2CP or to a hybrid or something.
Yeah, and right now we're finally loading in. We're going to be starting off on Garden.
Yeah, and I mean, Garden, like you said, you can totally run that ham, and I mean, it's really good, especially for stall. You get in that point and you just start swinging around the big old pillar in the middle, makes it really hard to get you. Someone's either going to have to hit you with that accretion, or it's going to be that Doomfist job to kind of try to stop you unless they're able to pump through enough damage. Tracking it can be hard at times, especially when most of the people you have projectiles on your team, so that can also add a layer of difficulty to it. But I mean, if they do decide to just stick with the meta double shield, I mean that's not a bad option. That's why it's meta.
Not at
So
all,
I
not at
think
all.
I think that when we go in here, it's gonna be pretty good.
I think so as well. We've got a little bit of that spawn room shenanigans. I don't think we've necessarily seen the final composition out from either of these teams, but maybe we're going to see the Pharah play coming out from these teams, which is very useful, especially if you get that first capture on the point. The Pharah makes it real hard for the enemy to find a good angle to attack in.
Yeah,
All right.
and going into it, it looks like they're gonna be sticking with the Pharah. The Lucias, I imagine, are gonna switch over to Mercy to help them out. It doesn't actually look like
Looks like 7Kings is going to be sticking with the Lucio. Oh, early pickoff from Mercedes onto members only, and that's one of the most valuable picks you can get. That Moira is the biggest source of healing for this 7Kings roster, and it's going to let Citizens go in quickly, take the point, and they've already cornered Excavate. It's pretty much over here. The first capture is going to go over to Citizens as bloodlessly as you could ask for on their part.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that they lost their Moira at the start, members only, very unfortunate. You know, that's your whole source of healing pretty much, you know, as everyone plays together, and that Moira is going to be able to heal everybody.
Oh, Excavee's in trouble.
Excavee's kind of stuck down there. He might be able he got his way out. Nice. That's impressive.
He's managed to come out, getting in behind, ready to disrupt Citizens as they get ready to counter the push of his approaching teammates. Prodigy goes in deep along with Cyclops, and Aiko's going to be the first kill. Sky's pushing in deep. The really early barrage from Mercedes comes out, but doesn't get anything. This has turned into out-and-out chaos on the point, and it looks like, for the moment, 7Kings is sort of taking a positional advantage here. Citizens is not backing down, though. No kills coming through on either side yet, until Prodigy finds the kill onto Purple, and it looks like 7Kings is going to retake this point on that first push-in.
Yeah, that one thing you want to take out fast is going to be that Doomfist in those fights, because he has such a scary amount of damage output in such a short amount of time. It's just very critical that if you don't get him out early in that fight, you have to have eyes on him at all times. That way, you know he's not tearing up your back line or just making your tank super low so they even have to back off and give up some space just to try to stay alive. So I think that's one thing they're going to just have to keep an eye on, is making sure that Prodigy doesn't come in there into their back line and start getting more.
Yeah, late death onto Mercedes, but he's already back in. He's already about to have that barrage again. Excavee's gone, and it looks like Citizens is going to just take advantage of this. They're committing ultimates, pushing in hard. Cyclops falls. The barrage comes out from Mercedes. Maybe a bit of an ultimate overcommitment on their part, but it's going to pay dividends. They're going to take control of that point quickly. It's only Sky's left. He's going to be out of here momentarily. And once again, Excavate coming in for the stall, but with the entire enemy team here waiting for him, it doesn't look like he's long for this world. Neither is 7Kings control of this point.
Yeah, and I mean, wow, Mercedes got that ultimate really fast back up. As soon as they got back in there, they were actually able to do that pretty much in between both fights.
He's already a quarter of the way back to it again.
Yeah, he's just getting so much damage boost from this Mercy, and now looking at these ultimates, though, I mean, you're about to have 9 up on the side of 7Kings. Meanwhile, you only have 2 over on the side of Citizens. So, I mean, what are you going to try to do here? Use a flex with the meteor strike to try to pull something off?
Excavate coming in the back again, getting carried by Aiko, but Ultimate's starting to come out on the side of 7Kings. It looks like they're really going to get everything they need to do with that lift and Doomfist punch, but they've committed pretty much everything except for the Reaper ultimate, and you've got to think that might be a bit of an overcommitment on their part.
Yeah, I think they're about to fall victim to what just happened to Citizens, what they just did to Citizens. Citizens use so many ults that now 7Kings had such a big ult advantage. Now they use 5 of their ults. Well, guess what? Citizens are now getting back up. They're about to have 3 ults online. Well, like 2 ults online. But, I mean, still, big advantage.
Oh, wow. It looks like they don't necessarily need all the resources in the world. Big Death Blossom from Cyclops. Aiko coming in to try and even the score with some help from Kachao. Aiko's popping off here, but it doesn't look like it's going to be quite enough. And it looks like that late fight might have cost Citizens their chance to really come in and fight this out as a cohesive unit. We've got Purple and Kimboyo coming in to try and contest this, but they're pushing in deep. Sayumi committing her Coalescence. So far, no one's got a decisive pick yet. Prodigy picks off Aiko, Mercedes takes off Cyclops. It's still 5v5. Camboyo with the pick onto Skies, and it looks like Citizens is coming in. They brawl this out. What a comeback!
I mean, you know, going into that, I wasn't expecting them to get too much value out of it, but I mean, you know, it goes in with the Hammond. Everyone was just focusing fire and able to dwindle people down lower and lower until finally they were able to pick up the kills, and I mean, that's a really good job by them. But now, going into this next fight, no one is really going to have ults on the side of Citizens here. This is going into last fight territory. Meanwhile, over on the side of 7Kings.
Mercedes hiding behind, ready to come in behind the 7Kings. Early pick onto members only. That could be damning. We have Kachao coming in with Purple, applying that early pressure. Excavate drops his mines, taking out Camboyo, but Skies falls too. The numbers advantage is still in favor of Citizens, and it looks like they're going to be able to ride that to a victory. It's just Excavate left. Members only coming in. Ultimate's committed, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too much. Too little, too late, and it looks like that first point, despite going to 99.99, is going to go in favor of Citizens.
Yeah, pretty impressive. I'm surprised not only were they able to take it back, but they were able to keep that point for a long time and able to take the map. You know, the ultimates weren't really in their favor. You saw the mines come out on the point, so now they had to be very cautious. You know, we can't go all the way over to that left side now. We just got to stay over here. And that Hammond's going around. You just got to be worried that you get hit into one. But they were doing a really good job. They were staying calm and collected. They were doing the focus fire, like I said before. They're just really good at just understanding who they want to focus, target, and we're able to take them out. And then, of course, the coalescence came in just at the end there by members only, but members only was the only member on the point, so there wasn't much to.
Bit of irony there as we go into night market. Looks like we're going to be seeing the Reinhardt coming out on the side of 7Kings. Interesting pick. Pretty standard, though, on the part of Citizens. Let's see what happens. They rotate quickly to point, and despite the Symmetra teleport being used to try and get an early advantage onto point, they're caught in rotation. Skies falls, and while they're laying out a lot of damage, it looks like they're just sort of being bled out by Citizens. Members only falls. Eco takes out Cyclops, and yeah, that's really all you got to do to take that first cap again for Citizens.
Yeah, losing that Orisa right off the bat was just not what they wanted to see. It was going to be a hard fight to win after that. I like the fact that they're kind of using this Ryan, because as you can see, he's almost got his Earth Shatter. It's going to be very hard to hit that through these double shields, of course,
Exactly,
but it's doable. But, you know, the idea behind the Reinhardt is he has a bunch of abilities that go through shield. All of his abilities go through the shield, except for his ultimate. So he can definitely put through a lot of damage, just kind of like how a Doomfist can.
Teleport in to point, going for the same play again. This time, though, they find the result they're looking for. That Earth Shatter finds pay dirt. The turrets from Cyclops getting a lot of work done, and now they take control of the point. And now we might see where this composition becomes dangerous. With the May, the Symmetra, that's a great way to fortify the point in your favor.
Yeah, and now looking at it, you know, Citizens were able to get that point first, and the issue was they held way too far up. That just allows them to put that teleporter up, get over onto the point really quick, and now they're just going to be fighting a losing battle. Going into it, they have to completely clear out this point, and that's going to be hard, especially with that big old damage buff.
Yeah, damage matrix kind of giving the Citizens a little bit of a reticence to engage. Ultimates being committed, no real value yet. No one's managed to find the kill. We have Mercedes coming into the back, getting parried away. Aiko finds Prodigy, though, and this could be where things start to spiral. And yes, Citizens taking care, picking their spots, managed to find the victory, with really only the one ultimate committed out of Mercedes. That's as clean as you could want for that retake.
Yeah, and now looking at it, I mean, they did a really good job there taking back the point, so I wouldn't be doubtful if somehow they, on the side of 7Kings, managed to cap it again and go into a similar scenario. But
Mercedes
right now,
getting ready.
Yeah, right now, you can see Mercedes getting ready. They're holding a little farther back. They're just getting ready, letting them know, okay, they're teleporting. They're going to try to destroy that teleport as fast as they can.
All right, but it looks like maybe that division, I don't think Citizens was quite ready to receive it. They do get Cyclops and members only with that gravitic flux from Purple, but another shatter from Excavate might swing back things back in the favor of 7Kings, but Eco shutting it down. It is over once again.
Yeah, that was a pretty good meteor strike there just to hurry up and close out that fight. Now, with about 70% and counting on that point, you know, you're coming close to last fight territory. You're not going to have so many ultimates coming up here. You're going to have the window coming out for members only, but really, I mean, that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah, and they committed a lot of resources to that last fight. Aiko coming in, trying to get the pick, doesn't get anything, but he escapes with his life. 7Kings pushing in, using the teleporter again, but it looks like this time it's just going to divide their team up. X could be caught behind and is absolutely isolated, destroyed. The rest of his team doesn't push in. They're completely separated, and now they're going into this 5v6. They're pushed away before they can even use anything through that damage matrix, and this is just... This fight's come apart. This is off the rails. Sky's trying to stall things out, but the Death Blossom from Mercedes is the death knell for 7Kings on Lijiang Tower, and that is a quick 2-0 in favor of Citizens.
Yeah, Citizens now up 1-0 total in the map scores. They still have to win 2 more in a row for them to take the whole thing. But I mean, honestly, that looked very dominant more towards the end there, and the teleporter actually came up and it was behind the point. I think maybe they tried getting it. I don't know. Maybe they tried getting on the high ground and didn't work, so they were able to break it really
Mhm.
fast. And only two people made it through. One of them being XKV, who was then just completely taken out.
Yeah, it had to me the distinctive smell of a set play that was really the only strategy they kind of had ready to go on this map that they felt good with, because they kept trying it over and over again, the same exact angle of attack, and Citizens, they knew it was coming by that point. After they got caught out on the first attempt, the second time they were ready for it.
Yeah, so like to a certain extent, those that composition can work, but when your enemies are just aware of that, and now they're playing on the point and they're watching for you to jump in, they're gonna be way more ready
Mhm.
for it. It's gonna be so hard just to get back in there, not only win that fight, but now you got to set up again. So making sure that everything you have on Symmetra is off the cooldown. You want to have all your turrets up as fast as you can. So I mean, fights like that can be really hard to win, and we saw it right here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think right now we're seeing what might be the difference between these teams. Citizens willing to be a little patient on that, on their attacks going into night market, and it paid dividends. Whereas Seven Kings, they didn't really seem to have their comms quite ironed out. You saw them commit more ultimates than they needed to in pretty much every fight where they started to really, throw in resources. Whereas Citizens, they may have overcommitted in the spot or two, but it wasn't as severe or as often. Right now you're kind of seeing maybe the experience of the Citizens roster giving them a bit of an advantage here.
Yeah, and I mean, you see their DPS use their ultimates, and every time they press Q, they seem to get value out of it. Whether it may just be Mercedes using the barrage to break a shield and maybe get a kill, or whether you're able to use that Death Blossom and secure three, or even the Doomfist Meteor Strike. He was able to take out two, and the Bongo, just securing that fight win by Echo. So I mean, looking at it, they get a lot of value out of their ultimates when they use them. So I think Seven Kings have just got to kind of look to do the same thing with their DPS.
Mm-hmm. The DPS from Citizens absolutely getting a lot of value on their out of their ultimates, their general plays. Seven Kings DPS got to step up just that little bit if they want to close that gap. And
Yeah.
looks like we're going to be going into King's Row as our next map. So we could see some of the more standard play, but we also could see the Bastion play that is now in vogue after San Francisco Shock decided to ruin ladder play for the next few months by making Bastion popular.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna see that Bastion play, Kings Row's a good place to start off. You get the symmetry, you
Absolutely.
just teleport to high ground, you go high ground, high ground, high ground. And really, I think on the defense, what you're gonna want to do up against that is, on one of the earlier matches, it was Six Guns versus Team Two. One of the teams were running that Bastion strat, and the other team hurried up, ran inside, got to the high ground, speed boosted, jumped across the gap, closed that distance, and began to take them out. They weren't quite able to pick up that win there because the immortality was down, and you know no one's gonna die if the immortality's still up. But I mean, that's a really good idea. Like that is kind of what you want to do in that scenario. Make sure you hurry up and get that Bastion taken out fast. But if they have that immortality up, you got to be focused.
Absolutely, and like you said, didn't quite get the win for them, but it absolutely is I would say, one of the correct approaches. Looks like we're about to head into King's Row here. Excuse me. Seven Kings is going to be starting. Going to be starting on the attack with Citizens on the defense.
Yeah, and now when you think about defense, you're probably not going to stray too far, but the offense is kind of where you can flex around a little bit. Like we said, you might run that Bastion Sim. Maybe you want to run a Pharah and a Doomfist. I think it just kind of comes down to what your players are more comfortable with and what you feel is appropriate for the match at your.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll get to see what they're going with in just 20 seconds. Um, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I actually think we might see the Bastion coming out from Seven Kings, just because they seemed to. This may, very small sample size, but having the Symmetra, they seem to like kind of playing a little bit of off kilter comps, things to like throw the enemy off balance. So we'll see if I'm correct.
Yeah, that is.
I don't think they're gonna run GT dive. Just gonna go out there and assume that they're not that wild in what they do.
I mean, with upcoming changes, on the PTR, you may see a little bit of a resurgence of that. Maybe not this specific style of dive that they have right now. I'd be
Mhm.
surprised if they actually do come out with it. I
Going
think
back to the Apex Season 3 days.
yeah, back in mind, another one of these. Oh gosh. But anyways, yeah, it looks like XQV is going to switch over to the Orisa. So it looks like they're probably going to stick to a standard composition.
Oh,
Oh,
bringing in the
actually, they're going to
Pharah
bring
this time.
yeah, they're going to bring in the Farm Mercy back in here.
Mercedes
Now,
on the Junkrat. There's not really any anti-air to deal with her.
yeah, I was just looking at that. I mean, the best thing you've got is that Moira, and then maybe a pull accretion if you're able to pull that off. That'd be really sick to see. But right now, I think Farah is probably just going to be raining justice from above the whole time, and you got to be wary of it.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out from Mercedes. We'll see if anyone can make anything happen with it yet. Teams kind of jockeying for a position. Cyclops goes in deep and finds the first pick onto Mercedes, and that is what you want to see if you are 7Kings. Another pick onto Eco, and it looks like this defense is going to fall apart before it can really even have a chance to get dug in. First tick over for 7Kings. Kachow falls, and Camboyo's going to come in for the stall, but I don't think it'll last too long. No, it does not. And first hit captured pretty much, first point, I should say, captured as quickly as you could want if you are 7Kings.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at Cyclops, just piling through that hotel there, getting 3 picks off, and eventually everybody had to back up. They didn't really have an option, and then Camboyo was in there to try to sell a point. Creation dead, you know, it's just how it goes. But I mean, looking at it now, did a really good job. They switched over to that Bastion comp that we were talking about, which is very standard.
On the McCree now.
Yeah, now, oof, that McCree is going to be a hard one to kind of deal with here if you're this far up. But you got to make sure you get him out of the
Could be, but it looks like he's alone, isolated, and picked off. That flank does not end up working out in favor of Citizens. And now we have 7Kings smelling blood in the water, getting a little more aggressive with their positioning. Kachow gets rocked, but does not fall yet. And a big pull into the barrage from Prodigy. Very good combination, good execution, and now they're starting to roll through Street's phase, despite a little initial stymieing from Citizens.
Yeah, it's funny. You can see Prodigy just sitting up in that window waiting for the halt to come back online. And as soon as it went out there, just absolutely raining in. And, you know, those are really good combos you like to see. You know, it's all about that Orisa being able to use that halt and get a lot of value from it, which they absolutely can with these DPS ultimates.
Cyclops setting up far back, trying to avoid punishment from Eco, but Eco diving in forces out the Immortality field. Mercedes takes out Lord Enzo. Sayumi's Coalescence drops Prodigy from the sky, and it looks like now Citizens is sort of finding their footing. Cyclops falls, not without a parting pick, but yeah, back to the drawing board for 7Kings.
Yeah, I mean, you lose 2 of your players right off the bat. It's going to be really hard to try to win that fight. They put the Immortality around the wall, which made it really well. So that way, you know, you can't really attack it. They're going to stay up a little bit longer. But when you lose that Far Mercy, that's a lot of damage and a lot of potential heals also gone now. So that was a fight lost as soon as that happened.
A lot of ultimates coming out from Citizens, committing all the resources they can to this fight. Big pull into Eco's, Doomfist ultimate, the Meteor Smash, that's what it's called. So, yeah, pretty much spirals out of control for 7Kings as soon as it starts. Prodigy shut down. But Citizens, you have to wonder if they didn't overcommit to this. Because they went into that with 5 ultimates, and they come out now with only one of them reasonably close to being online.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the ultimates, they're going to be low now on the side of 7Kings because you can see that they're making these swaps here. You notice that they don't swap off the Pharah even though they swapped over to that Reaper. So you know that the barrage is going to be coming in. So that Sigma needs to be ready. Purple needs to be ready for this barrage.
We have Mercedes behind, but Prodigy takes out Kachow, but is killed in turn by Eco. Mercedes in the midst of 7Kings. Citizens pushing in deep. They can smell the blood in the water, and it looks like once again this is going to be a stuffed push for 7Kings.
Yeah, they're switching back over now to the regular double shield. Now with both teams going up against it, it's just going to be about purely who's better at it. You know, it is a little bit easier on the defense most of the time, but, you know, the offense has to be able to push it off it.
Oh, Mercedes falls early. That could be a big opening for 7Kings, and it looks like they're going to take advantage of it. Speeding forward, trying to get into the fight here before reinforcements can join the Citizens. Eco behind gets a lot of damage onto Skies, but they're not able to get the pick off the back of it. Meteor Strike comes out from Eco, doesn't find anything yet. looks like Mercedes is about to rejoin the team. Can Citizens make anything happen with his presence? Looks like they can. Purple with the Gravitic Flux. Big picks onto Skies. Eiko takes out Excavate. Sayumi does fall, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough. Once again, Citizens stuffs the push from 7Kings.
Yeah, able to use that Gravital Flux. And you know that the Lucio's either going to be close to his ultimate or he's going to have it. You know, they've been on that Lucio for a little bit of a while now. So, of course,
Do you want to point out Mercedes committing that Death Blossom to try and kill members only? You're going to want that back if you're Citizens.
Yeah, I mean,
you're feeling really
it may be a little bit of fun every now and then, you know, just press
Q. A little
Q.
bit of bad manners.
But right now, I mean, oof, not ults.
Right. Dueling Coalescence, the Bongo comes out from Kachao, but it is summarily destroyed. No one finding blood just yet, and as I say that, Eiko takes out Prodigy. Seems that he fights it every single time I make a comment on the state of the fight. But Citizens pushing in, they're chasing this fight deep, and it looks like 7Kings is not going to have many members escape with their lives. It is, yeah, another clean fight, and all the way to the spawn door, Citizens forces them back. This is one fight territory for 7Kings.
Yeah, now down to almost 20 seconds here. So many ults on the side of 7Kings coming up, but you gotta make sure that you see value with those ultimates, which is something that Citizens was able to pull off earlier. So as long as we can see 7Kings get a lot of value out of it, the rotating around here on the left side, just that way they don't have to take
trying
a
to push
fight,
through the cart.
but...
Bongo down, lift comes up, but Camboyo is ready with his beat. The Death Blossom comes down from Cyclops. No real kills from it. XKB goes down to Kachao. 7Kings pushing in. Eiko finds members only. This fight is spiraling out of control for them very quickly. Purple drops Skies. While they do get an answering pick onto Mercedes, it just doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Citizens looks like they are going to stop 7Kings here in the streets. And yeah, not all that deep in it either.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a really good place to hold. You didn't let them even cap the second portion of the map there, which, you know, holding on that phase can be a little bit difficult sometimes. They were able to pull it off, but they aren't quite out of the water just yet. They still have to be able to not only cap the point, but now get it as far as 7Kings were able to get it, which, I mean, attack, defense, two totally different beasts. You know, you could be really good on attack, could be really bad on defense, vice versa. You know, so I think they're just going to have to make sure that they're still playing at the top of the game and taking their points seriously.
And another thing, if 7Kings decides to go with the Bastion composition on defense as well, it can be a lot harder to get to him because he can be set up on those high grounds behind the Sigma Shield. Very difficult to access for most people in the current meta comps.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on where they actually decide to set up that Bastion and depending on what kind of combo DPS they want to use with him, I think could also kind of make a bit of a difference because if you're running the sim with him, that allows you to move from high ground to high ground in a fast fashion. But maybe if you want to decide and go for maybe more of just Bara, which it looks like they're going to decide to go again here, but you got to be careful because it looks like Mercedes might be expecting to see something like that already over onto the Widow. Who knows if they're going to stay? You know, usually you'll see a Widow play at the top there and just look for an opening pick. But they never really stay on it for too long. Once they see
I doubt
Mercy,
they will.
Maybe.
But if they see Prodigy on that Pharah, maybe he will stick with it to try and take advantage of this. We've got Kachao going over to the Reinhardt now. Sayumi going back to that signature Moira. Okay, reset. Let's see if they can crack this defense. Cyclops putting out a lot of pain early. Mercedes trying to go for that pick onto the Pharah, but Prodigy just backs out of those sight lines. And looks like Mercedes not going to get too much value, but committing to the pick. Going in deep, looking for that Pharah. We have Citizens pushing onto point already, aggressively taking that ground offered. Purple goes to point, is immediately killed. Kachao on point, getting surrounded by Skies and members only. Mercedes takes out Skies though. Cyclops takes out Camboyo. And it looks like Citizens has a slight advantage here. Cyclops and XKV rotating to try and get into position, but Kachao drops XKV, Cyclops falls, and yeah, looks like Citizens knew just how to play this. They were ready, expecting the Bastion and the Pharah, perfectly comfortable dealing with it, capping that first point, not quite as quickly as 7Kings, but no less dominantly.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing when you're picking up this Widowmaker here, they're able to get a kill again over on a Cyclops who just switched over, but when you play this Widowmaker, you're able to make so much space in the air because this Pharah can't really go as many places they would have liked to gone there. You know, seeing how the enemy team was rotating over onto their Bastion, I'm sure they would have loved to go.
Mercedes with the pick onto Skies.
A little bit more aggressive.
That is huge. That is going to mean that 7Kings is down one of their most critical members going into this fight. And Citizens knows they are pushing in deep with another kill onto members only. Citizens is getting picked apart with another kill onto Excavate. I don't know if they're going to be able to get anywhere close to that payload, and I don't think Kachow thinks so either, judging by the emotes. He is sitting down, having enjoying some Christmas presents, was dancing a moment ago. Citizens is just going in as deep as they can here, and it looks like it's going to buy them the majority of the time they need to get through the streets phase.
Yeah, I mean, with how far up they're pushed, you'd expect them to be almost capping the third point here.
Mercedes finally falls. 7Kings pushing out, getting ready to contest right to the point. But Eco is ready with the barrage, takes out 2 immediately. This is a disaster for 7Kings, and it is over. That was... You ever see, like, in a boxing match where someone just takes that shot clean on the chin? Their knees just go out. They look like Bambi on the ice, just kind of stumbling back across the ring, just trying to keep their hands up and block the punches. That, I think we've just seen the Overwatch equivalent.
I mean, honestly, wow, that was a crazy offense there. I can't believe they even stayed on that Widow. I guess if they're getting picks, you know, keep going. And Mercedes was just able to hit so many shots that it was basically like if you swapped off, you might have even, you know, been doing your team a misfortune there. But, I mean... wow, that was super dominant. I mean, I've never seen someone plow through King's Row so fast, and they just completely took all this space by pushing up super fast. They left the Orisa over in the back, which isn't that bad because, you know, you have that Widow who can just kind of stay from far away and shoot at them. And then, of course, you have their Pharah Mercy. So what were they going to do? What were they going to do? You know, it was a hard one to win.
Yeah, it's an absolutely brutal attack that if you're 7Kings, it's going to be hard not to be boomed by that. Like, I know that as someone who plays, you know, ranked a fair bit and plays on a team as well, maps where you just kind of stagger and keep losing fights and really don't even get a chance to get fights started, I would actually say, that's really mentally difficult. You've got to reset from that if you want to get back into this. So right now, 7Kings under the gun. This is match point for Citizens. 7Kings really needs to change something if they want to make this happen here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly they would want to change from just kind of like how they're playing. They seem to like kind of those more off-meta maps, and King's Row, something that usually has such a set meta in it, can be really hard to take the win on. So what they decide to go here, I mean, they did look all right over on the control point maps, King of the Hill. But I imagine maybe they do feel comfortable going with kind of a 2 CP, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them like that go out. Not map. Looks like they're going to say Hanamura. So, I mean, what they decide to go here, probably going to be another Bastion comp with the Baptiste. You know, I think the issue was that because they were running that Pharah and that Widowmaker was coming out from the side of Citizens, that all that space was taken up now by just that Widow sightlines. Which, you know, anybody can make space, but especially a Widow with a Pharah in the air, yeah, it's going to be a hard one to win. And they were staying on the side. The Pharah was playing where they needed to play so they didn't die by the Widow, but now they weren't quite able to put in as much damage to help out their Bastion and the rest of their team sitting over on the high ground.
Yeah, and Mercedes was able to make a lot of use of that space. Looks like we're going to have Citizens starting on defense on Hanamura. If you're 7Kings, maybe this is the time to sort of opt into the meta a little bit more, because that I wonder if we're going to see the Pharah again from them. I don't think so. Hanamura lends itself to it, but I wouldn't have thought the streets on King's Row did either, but they seemed pretty doggedly committed to it as well.
Yeah.
However, just another reminder for the folks watching the stream, right now you can vote for the MVP of this match in the Twitch panels. We've seen a lot of good performances. Mercedes and Eiko have been popping off all game. Sayumi been doing a great job keeping her team alive. Camboyo has had his beat ready for every single Gravitic Flux. Just good stuff coming out from everyone on Citizens. Prodigy looked good on that first map as well. His Pharah was a big threat that kind of helped 7Kings break out of the chokehold early onto Streets. There's a lot of people to pick from. So go ahead and cast your vote.
And now we're going to be hopping into the match here. Citizens are going to be the ones starting on defense, like you said earlier. What we see from them, I imagine, won't be straying too far from the meta. I'm sure they feel very confident now, though, after their Kings Road match. So maybe they do want to go something a little bit more cheesy. But on the offense here by 7Kings, I'm actually kind of expecting them to do what somewhat of they did on Lijiang Tower. Which one was it? It was Night Market, where they ran that Symmetra, and I think the Rhine as well. And they're just going to go straight to point from the right side. If they're going to be able to do that, is probably something I would imagine them doing. Use the Sigma Shield to kind of block some of that Bastion damage onto that first teleporter, and then go through the next one. Have the Rhine be the first one to go through so he can set up his shield. So now you've got those teleporters safely secured. You make your way on the point, you set up, and then it's going to be a really hard one to take back. But we'll see what they decide to go here.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for that attack. We might see that Symmetra again. Looks like we're going to see Mercedes commit to the Widowmaker early on here. Purple onto the... sorry, I'm now onto the Sigma. Looks the Widow's an interesting choice. I think it suggests that they're expecting to see the Pharah or some other mobile character rather than the double shield that we've been seeing up to this point.
Yeah, and I mean, if they do decide to... Well, they have decided to keep this Widow. They can also do really good just staying far away angles. So when you're setting up that double shield and trying to protect yourself from the high ground over to your left, maybe that Widow's just sitting over there on the right and just able to pick off a head or two. You know, that's something you got to be careful and watch out for. But right now,
that's all you need to stop a push. All right, we've got an early isolation attempt onto Purple. So far, nothing really coming from it. Sky's dropped low. Prodigy is hurting as well, but they've managed to poke back Mercedes just a little bit. So far, no real pay dirt found.
Yeah, no, but they're going to have to go in here, and they're going to have to be very, very fast about it. I imagine XQV's probably going to want to try to get pile drive, and then a speed boost might come out. Cyclops on the Sombra, though, could be looking for a hack. A valuable target would probably be that Sigma, and then you could try to focus that shield down and just go in off of that.
Cyclops and XQV have breached the walls. They're going in for that early pick onto Eco, and it looks like they're going to find it. Cyclops does fall, but so does XQV. It looks like that might not have worked out the way they were hoping for. Citizens, knowing they've got an advantage now, push in deep, get the cleanup kills. They are not going to give 7Kings an inch of space to breathe.
Yeah, and right now Mercedes is going to have to be careful. Prodigy just keeps teleporting right in front of him.
Prodigy down late.
Able to get the headshot, though. Yeah, getting out late there. They were in the back line. They were trying to take out the Widow. They were able to teleport up to them, but they weren't quite able to get the kill, either one of them, until their teammates were able to assist.
7Kings taking the alleyway approach, showing a bit of respect to that Widowmaker, not giving her an opportunity to click on anyone's head just yet. Pushing in through the choke as Citizens falls back towards point in anticipation of that teleporter attack. They were in position. Aiko's caught out, nearly picked off. Coalescence coming out on both sides. The Maywall coming up to try and give 7Kings an avenue of approach. The pull comes in, the Meteor Strike comes out, but they don't find anything from it. A lot of ultimates committed, no blood spill just yet. Eiko with the punch onto Skies, beat from Lord Ento as they push in. Gives the opening for Purple to go for his gravitic flux. He drops though, so does XQV. This fight is still even, but as I say that, Camboyo and Mercedes find targets. Eiko takes out Prodigy, and it looks like once again, Citizens hold strong, manages to fight it out close in the clinch and win the brawl.
Yeah, now going into it, you're down to about 1:30. You got about 2 more fights going into this, depending on how fast they go. And I mean, I think they're going to just try to use the Sim TP again. Maybe they're going to go over to the right. Maybe they go up on high ground.
XQV is so low from that Widow shot.
Getting really low. You got to be careful of this, even though you have that double shield.
They can't poke their heads out at all. They're not even using their shields to block off the Widow. They're playing scared.
Yeah,
they're not ready for this.
I would be scared. Mercedes Widow is absolutely insane. They've really been clicking on heads, putting through a lot of damage.
Oh, Eiko waiting by the teleporter, takes out Lord Enzo as soon as he comes through. Cyclops, members only, Skies, XQV, they all fall one after another. And yeah, that's just the fight done. 50 seconds left for 7Kings to make something happen. They've got to find a new approach. They have to shut out Mercedes on that Widowmaker. So far, they've been unable to do it. But Prodigy on the Mei, spotting him out, maybe going to be able to go for the early pick. They will get the pick onto Mercedes, members only, securing it with that Coalescence. Maybe a little bit early, but they have found a kill with it. They are pushing in deep, ultimates committed on both sides. Kachao takes out Cyclops, the Immortality Field falls from Lord Enzo. Scott, we have the Blizzard coming out onto the point. Big freeze, will they be able to get the kills off the back of it? Yes, Purple falls, Kachao falls, and it looks like 7Kings has finally found the attack that they needed. Sayumi trying to stall things out, Citizens hoping to get this to overtime, leave 7Kings with as small of a time bank as possible, but it looks like 7Kings is going to close it out. Mercedes is still finding kills!
Mercedes is just an absolutely insane Widow when it really comes down to it. But I mean, they also kind of lost them that fight. Mercedes got a little too aggressive. The team wasn't quite able to help assist them. So as soon as they were able to grapple up to the high ground, they died pretty much as soon as they hit the ground. Now, I think that probably led them into that fight when ultimate usage was very good on the side of 7Kings. They still have a bongo up, and they're about to have this Symmetra wall. I imagine they're going to be teleporting over here to the left. Camboyo's called them out, so they're going to have to be careful.
Citizens is ready for it. Camboyo going for the boop, not quite finding it. Eiko is hurt, trying to back out. Early bongo. Eiko does fall. Now 7Kings is getting ready to push on the point. They've used that wall to bisect the point, pushing in deep, getting that kill onto Kachao. So far, though, they've still got a lot of members of Citizens behind them, walled them off, getting that first tick, bunkered up on point. Mercedes is taken out of the fight with that Orisa shield in place. There's no way that he can find an angle onto them. Citizens reinforcements coming onto the point. So far, they haven't been able to find anything. Kachao falls. The Coalescence comes out from Sayumi. This brawl keeps going. Prodigy falls, but so does Purple. 7Kings so close to getting that double cap. Will they be able to make it happen? It looks like they will, with 1 minute and 48 seconds left in the time bank. From disaster to victory, this could be a good start for them.
Yeah, I mean, ending with more than 1 minute in the time bank is really good, but it did take them quite a while to be able to cap that first point. I mean, what allowed them to cap that first point was kind of Mercedes being a little too over aggressive and them being able to pick it off. So whether they play that aggressive when it comes to the next defense, as long as Citizens are able to capture both of these points, and maybe 7Kings is going to be able to hold up a really good defense here. You know, they really like running that Bastion, which can at times be super hard to kind of go up against. So I think right now Citizens is just going to have to be ready for the unexpected. Isn't usually something you get to see through teams, but, you know, I think 7Kings is kind of more of a wild card.
I think so, especially because they're a team that we have so little footage on, you know? There's not really much prep you can do for them. Looks like, though, Citizens going to be opting into some pretty standard stuff. Looks like the 7Kings comp, though, is back into effect. The pharmacy with the Batiste and Bastion. Looks like they're going to try and bunker that Bastion up, have him put a lot of fire down onto the choke, while Prodigy just rains down the pain from on high. Let's see if they can make it work this time.
Yeah, I mean, the Pharah can work really well here on this first point. You just go around the left side with the Mega on high ground, and you just rain in all of those rockets from there with the Mercy boost if they're able to do that. I think what's really going to be hard for them is getting through this choke. If Citizens aren't able to make it through the choke, then it's going to be nearly impossible for them to win. You know what I mean? Because once they make it through that choke, even once they get onto that point, it's still going to be super hard to win. So I think this is a really good defense that they have going on here for the side of 7Kings. But if this Bastion is able to put through a lot of damage on this Pharah Mercy, then I think they'll take it.
Smart shield rotations coming out on the part of Citizens as they're trying to set up Mercedes for success, but it looks like the defensive Bastion will have the edge with some help from Prodigy's damage. Eiko is still behind. He's hidden away. He's got an off angle to take in the next fight that may help Citizens find pay dirt in their second push. He's trying to escape. He is going to manage to do that, if only by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, now, I mean, during that fight, that was really good. XV and Prodigy were using
Oh,
their abilities to
Prodigy,
displace
a
them.
little too aggressive going in for the push. Lord Enzo going in to try and resurrect. The Immortality Field allows him to get it off, but it is broken before he can escape. Lord Enzo and Prodigy fall. 7Kings have just come apart at the seams. On that slight overextension, Citizens is pushing in deep. They have control of the point. Skies is going to try and stall things out, but I don't think he's going to live very long.
Yeah, and I mean, capping in just less than 3 minutes, more closer to, I guess, 2:30. They're gonna have a lot of time in the bank. They're gonna have about 5.5 minutes to capture the second point. So right now they got to be probably switching off this far. I understand they're close to the barrage, but you know, I think that you got to be really careful here using it because if you go down again early in this fight, whether you're able to get the barrage off or not, it's just gonna kind of make the team fight go a whole lot of the other direction.
Ako's on that McCree to try and take Prodigy out of the fight. Prodigy is going to need to make this barrage count. It is online. Skies is hurt. We have the tank mode coming out from Mercedes. Will he be able to find any kills off of it? Not just yet. So 7Kings retreats onto point, gives up a lot of their high ground control. Citizens ready to commit. They are going in. Prodigy is zoned off to the side by the threat of Ako's McCree, while Citizens looks for their angle. We have the Coalescence coming out on the part of Sayumi. Will they be able to find a pick? Yes, they will. Skies falls. And Citizens now sees their opportunity going aggressive. But Prodigy shuts the door the second it is opened for Citizens. It is over. That push is dead. But if you're Citizens, you've still got 4 minutes and 30 seconds in the bank. The 7Kings is going to have to find that defense again and again.
Yeah, and I mean, Prodigy found a really good angle to go in with that barrage because the whole of their team was down at the bottom there, just kind of focusing on them. And so, since you're not able to kind of look up at the sky that far, and you're more worried about everyone that's right in front of you, you got the barrage stay a little bit farther back and just let the barrage do its thing from a distance, which is really good because they were stuck in that corner. They maybe would have gone into that mini, but it would have just made it so much harder for them to even try to get out. So, really good angle they took.
Absolutely, and they're going to have a difficulty now. Cyclops pushing in with that Blizzard. And while Citizens is going to find 2 picks early, 7Kings is going to be in position to start cleaning up kills off the back of the setup from that Blizzard. It's a bloody fight, not one that's particularly clean. But Citizens somehow manages to push onto point. They've captured the first tick before 7Kings is in position to defend. I don't know that this is going to work out for Citizens, but they're committing ultimates. They're going in. Kachow falls to Prodigy. Sayumi takes out Cyclops with that Coalescence. Are they going to be able to find any more kills? Yes, Mercedes takes out Lord Enzo. Prodigy is found. XKV is in the corner with members only. They don't look like they're going to be long for this world, but Skies falls first. XKV stalling out for as long as possible. Members only falls. Cyclops takes out Mercedes. The Blizzard comes onto point to really deny the defenders any sort of advantage. Lord Enzo falls. Prodigy comes in. Will he be able to find a pickoff? No. Camboyo shuts him down. Sky's coming in with that Wrecking Ball to try and stall things out. But it doesn't look like they're going to be able to hold this together for too much longer. XKV frozen and denied off point. Sky's pushed away. And it looks like, yeah, that's it. 2 minutes and 39 seconds, a pretty impressive time bank. This match isn't over yet, but Citizens is doing their best to just shut the door on 7Kings right now. They want the 3-0.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the time banks, not even quite a minute above 7Kings there, so they did hold it off for a little bit longer than I expected them to. Going into that last fight, Prodigy had a really good barrage. Like, they were able to get 3 people with it. There was no way that they were going to be able to come back from that. But in that last fight where they were able to cap it, I think they just took way too long kind of going up with these kills. I mean, you have the spawn advantage because your spawn is right behind the point, but they just weren't quite able to pick up kills fast enough. And so that just led to everybody on the side of Citizens making it all the way back from spawn, picking those faster characters just to get there, put in that damage. And now with them going back over onto defense for Citizens, they're expecting to see a Farah again. It looks like Mercedes over on the McCree instead, which I mean is probably a little bit better, especially if they have a Doomfist Reaper instead of having that Farah somewhere in there. Because if you
Opting
have
onto
that
the
flash,
Farah himself.
yeah, I like them to go for the Farah themselves. Is actually a pretty good pick here. You haven't really seen too much hit scan play come out from either the DPS on the side of 7Kings. Probably because they didn't really need it too much. But I mean, it's going to be hard to play Fire here if they do go that possibly. But I assume that they feel very confident in their abilities to do so.
All right, Citizens coming. Citizens on the defense. 7 Kings coming out, trying to make the most of their smaller time bank. Looks like they're setting up for that same teleporter attack. Echo finds members only. Mercedes finds Cyclops. The rest of the team is already teleported in. This is over fast. First push stuffed.
Yeah, I mean, they did just a really fast job stopping that. Now with only about 1 or 2 more fights going into it, probably only one actually. They're making a lot of changes here, but if we're looking at ultimates right now, no one's really close to their ultimate except for Echo. Echo is almost at that barrage, which could be the absolute determining factor as long as they watch for Cyclops on this Widowmaker, who can just, I guarantee you, be devastating against them.
Absolutely, we're going into the Pharah v Pharah matchup. Hit scan v hit scan. 7 Kings confident in the caliber of their DPS play, pushing in forward, trying to take the space, set up for a pick. They haven't quite found anything yet. Members only gets low, but staying alive so far. Cyclops hasn't found that pick that he's looking for. Coalescence coming out from members only, answered by Sayumi. Echo's barrage comes out, and it is shut down by Cyclops. Sayumi does take Excavate, though. The front line from 7 Kings is weakened, and it looks like it will collapse under the pressure. Skies falls late. With these later deaths, 7 Kings is really under the gun now. They're going to have a hard time having all 6 members in position to fight once time runs out.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be no more ults pretty much going over for this fight, depending on how long it gets stalled out, though. You got the high noon from Mercedes, but
XKV wrapping around. Echo in hot pursuit. Hits the point, ready to trigger overtime, but he's already halfway dead. Echo is in position, though, from that chase to pick off Cyclops. High noon comes out from Mercedes. Skies finds Skies with it. XKV falls, and it looks like 7 Kings push is going to stop right here. The best they can hope for is going to be a draw.
Yeah, I mean, looking for the draw here is going to definitely be a difficult one, but with only about 239 in the time bank, your enemies will probably be able to gain their ultimates within that time period. But I think it's just going to be about as long as they win pretty indefinitely this first fight, and it's not like it goes down to like it was like a 66 and then maybe they lose 3 guys but they still win the team fight, because then that gives the enemy more ult charge. So I think they really need to take a dominant first fight win to feel confident about holding it this whole time.
Exactly. They're going to need to really make this work for them. Because if you lose even one person here on this defense, Citizens has a massive spawn advantage that they will be able to ride to a victory. We've seen them do it before. They have the skill and they have the coordination to really make you hurt for it. Prodigy looks like he has been scared off of that Pharah by the hit scan play coming out from both Mercedes and Echo over the course of this series, and is instead opting for the Junkrat, going for that spam in the chokes early on, backing up the damage put out by Cyclops' Bastion.
Yeah, and I mean, Cyclops is going to be the one to go to if they do decide to run a Pharah Mercy into it. But I think right now, with the amount of shield break they have, that as soon as they get over to that point anyways now, with Mercedes over on the Symmetra, they are able to teleport to it. They might not even be able to get everybody through it in time because of how much shield break they're going to have on the side of 7 Kings here. So that's a really good call to go that Junkrat and that Bastion. You still got something to take out of Pharah in case that happens. But, I mean, the burst damage from them is just going to be what's really going to help them.
Yeah, and Citizens is looking for their own Mercedes teleport attack. They are looking to just take things to the point immediately and force 7 Kings to rotate, catch them in the rotation and kill them out. But instead, it's going to be Citizens caught in the rotation. Kachao falls. Echo is going to be swapping off of the Reaper and onto the Mei. Hopefully going to use the wall to try and cut off the attackers, the defenders, I should say, as they try to recontest the point in response to the teleporter. Citizens being patient. They know they've got the time. Teleporter set up. They are right on the point. Wall's about to come up. Slices through that choke. Cyclops putting down a lot of damage, but can they keep him alive? He gets Mercedes, but falls himself. Prodigy putting out a lot of damage, but so far not really able to find any more kills on the attacking side. Echo falls, but so does Skies. This is even, and it looks like Citizens is going to manage to gut it out. Purple and Kachao just finding all the picks. Camboyo taking out Lord Enzo, and that is going to be it. Citizens with the dominant 3-0 victory closed out on Hanamura.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw it at the end there. Instead of them going over to that left side, if you're looking in from the defense, they went over to the right. They noticed what they were doing, so they're like, okay, we can't teleport right onto point, so we're just going to teleport to the right of point instead. Now they're able to just walk their way around, not have to worry too much about the bastion. They put up that May wall to block some of that damage from going through onto them. So I mean, that was just really good at showing how teams have to be
Mhm.
adaptive and noticing what they're going up against the enemy composition.
Yeah, the chemistry was there, the adaptability was there, and the individual skill was there. An absolutely awesome performance coming out from Citizens to get them their first win in All-Star Brawl 3.
Yeah, and I mean, with it being just the start of the tournament here, that's exactly what you want to get. You want to get that early, easy, quick W, and just make sure that you don't have to worry too much about the safety net underneath you in the lower bracket. Which, speaking of the lower bracket, remember, 7 Kings isn't out quite yet. There is that lower bracket. But now that they are going to be going into that, that means in their next matches, they won't have that little bit of a safety net. So they're going to have to make sure that they secure the W.
Absolutely, but if you're Citizens, this is a good start. Another opportunity for them to go deep in the Overwatch All-Star Brawl bracket. We're going to be joined momentarily by a player from Citizens, but you've got one last opportunity if you're watching the stream to go in and cast your vote for the MVP of today's game.
Always remember that MVP down below.
Absolutely. It's going to be in the Twitch panels. And we are joined now by Mercedes from Citizens. Mercedes, how you feeling?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you just fine. So, really dominant performance. I got to ask, how you guys, were you feeling confident coming into this? I know 7 Kings is kind of an unknown quantity. They're relatively new, but that can lead to some out there picks, kind of like we saw, some off-meta approaches. Did any of that throw you guys off, or were you guys just ready to go?
Well, we're an experienced team that's had some success in the past, so we were feeling pretty good about ourselves going into it, and we just played our best and were able to come out with the victory.
Yeah, and it was an impressive victory. I will say I wasn't expecting to see so much Widowmaker play.
Yeah, I like to play Widowmaker.
I can tell you've clearly got some practice. You were finding headshots pretty much at every opportunity.
Yeah, I played her quite a bit over the years.
All right. One other question I got to ask for you guys. Is there anyone going into, advancing into the bracket that you're excited to play? A team that, you might have faced before and want a little bit of revenge, or that you're just, you've seen them go and you're excited to see how it stacks up?
I'd say that, we're a team that is pretty excited for. So just in general, we're just always excited to play new teams.
All right, Zach, you got anything to ask Mercedes?
Yeah, while we're here, I guess might as well. Going up against them in that last match on Hanamura there, you could see that they were holding up on the top left, and you guys made the choice to go over to the left and just move over to point there. I mean, that was a really good call. I don't know, was that your call since you were, I believe, the one on the Symmetra, or was that someone else's call?
Yeah, I made that call as Symmetra. I played quite a bit of Symmetra, and just generally what you want to do is you want to close the difference and distance between you and a Bastion. So the objective was to go out of their line of sight, take the point quickly, force them onto point by being on point, and then fight them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about how, who kind of made that call. Do you guys have a specific, leader in there now? Because I know you guys are kind of like a more revised team since last time we were together and we saw you here.
Yeah, typically Camboyo makes most of the calls on this team. He does a good job of that. He's a really talented player.
Yeah,
and a good leader.
Yeah, and I mean, it showed up today. You guys, it was looking a little bit more even on Lijiang Tower, but you guys were just absolutely able to dominate Kings Row, and then heading over to Hanamura, there was a little bit of a hiccup on the defense, but you guys were just able to pick it up and really gather yourselves back into it. So really good job today. I was very impressed with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you did a great job adjusting to the strategies coming out from 7 Kings, and hopefully we're going to get to see a lot more of you guys going deep into the bracket this tournament.
I hope so too.
Thank you for joining us, Mercedes. You're free to go. You don't have to put up with us any longer. Just congrats on the win.
All right, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. You too. All right, that was Mercedes from Citizens. Great match for Citizens. Mercedes as well did a pretty spectacular job.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we were to pick an MVP, a lot of times I'm usually torn and I don't really know who to pick. But I think today, when you really look at it, Mercedes is probably going to be my MVP pick. I mean, they were just
Yeah.
absolutely popping.
Yeah, and you normally don't get to see Widowmaker find all that much success in today's meta, where you've got that repositionable shield that on with Sigma that you can pretty much just keep throwing up into Widowmaker's face over and over again. And Mercedes didn't really get pressure. They weren't able to shut him down. He was just able to find the picks again and again and again.
Yeah, and I mean, it just happens, Sometimes you have someone who's just really feeling good that day on Widow or is really popping off. But today, who you guys thought popped off was Lorenzo. I mean, honestly, that's still a great pick. You know what I mean? You gotta have to have that support player in your back line who's willing to, keep an eye on everybody and know when to use speed boost. You gotta be careful when you're playing Lucio because you gotta know when to like amp it up speed or when to amp it up with your heals. And you gotta make sure that when you do that, you know that the next fight coming up isn't going to be having something where you have to back off again. Aggression's very careful with that. So I think, really good pick today. Support players don't really see as much limelight as they really should. Or is it limelight or the limelight?
Limelight.
Okay. That works. But, it's you don't really get to see them picked too much. So it's really refreshing to see that happen. And I think, well deserved.
All right. So that is gonna wrap things up for today's for match 5 for the Overwatch All-Star Brawl. Remember to follow and subscribe to the channel. Drop us a follow if you're enjoying the match. Consider joining the All-Star Club by dropping us a sub. We appreciate all the support that you guys give us to help us continue to provide events to the Overwatch esports community.
Yeah, I think supporting Tier 3 is such a big thing because supporting Tier 3 and Tier 2 are two very big things. I think that more people need to learn about that Tier 3 and Tier 2 community because they're the ones who are really trying to make it to the big leagues and who can kind of struggle at times and really could use some support.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you everyone for watching today's game between 7Kings and Citizens. Congratulations to Citizens on that 3-0 victory. I have been your play-by-play caster, CJ. You can find me on Twitter at _rage_nerd. And I have been joined by Poor Zach.
Yeah, you can find me pretty much on any platform, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Just Poor Zach is the handle, nothing too fancy. The Twitter one's a little messed up. It's like got zeros and a 4 for an A because Poor Zach was taken. But we don't want to talk about that one too much. It's kind of the ugly duckling group. But yeah, you can just find me there.
All right. Thank you for joining me on today's cast, and thank you everyone once again for watching. Have a good night, everyone.